Welcome back, everyone, to Birds of a Feather. This is your Baltimore Sports Podcast. My name is Nathan Stroud, and today we're going to be recapping the Orioles' 5-2 loss to the Texas Rangers in the first game of this three-game series. Second series of the season. Obviously, the Orioles are coming off of a 2-1 series win over the Minnesota Twins, and now they're facing the Texas Rangers, who are a lot better team on paper than the Twins, and they pretty much proved it tonight. You know, the Rangers went out there, did their thing. They won the game 5-2 over the Orioles, and for the Orioles, it was a pretty ugly game in a lot of different aspects. The starting pitching from Chris Bassett early was really, really rough. He does get credited the loss today. He didn't look great today. He ended up throwing 100 pitches in this game, but he only got through 4.1 innings. So Chris Bassett really struggled in his Orioles debut. The offense could not get the big hit again. This game was very, very similar to the second game of the year and the other loss of the season to the Twins, where the Orioles were getting guys on base. They just really couldn't bring them home. The Orioles today were 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position, so they just couldn't get anyone to come home. Couldn't bring guys home. Gunnar Henderson was the only player on the team that had an RBI. He actually had 2 of them today. He recorded 2 of the 2 Orioles runs in this game. He had a solo home run in the first inning, but after that second inning, it just got really, really rough for the Orioles bats. They got a couple guys on base, but again, they just couldn't bring them home when it really mattered. This was very similar to the second game of the season and the other loss. So both losses for the Orioles have been pretty similar, where the pitching has done an okay job, but the Orioles bats just could not wake up and could not step up when needed. This is supposed to be a top 10 lineup in baseball, and they are not really looking like it right now. Obviously, in yesterday's win, where they won 8-6 over the Twins, the offense looked great there. They had 12 hits. They were able to bring guys home at great times. I think they were like 5 for 8 with runners in scoring position yesterday. So yesterday it was looking a lot better, and I was hoping that they could use that momentum going into this series. But the offense kind of just dropped off again and looked like it did in the first 2 games of the season. And the biggest thing so far this year, because obviously we are only 4 games in, and I'm going to keep saying it's at the start of the year until, we start getting to that, third of the way through area. But again, we're 4 games in, still a lot of games remaining. But the Orioles offense this season so far in the first 4 games of the year, in Game 1, they scored 2 runs. Game 2, they scored 1 run. And then today, they scored 2 runs. So they've scored 2 runs, and 1 run in 3 of the 4 games this season. Really, really struggling offensively so far to find that consistency early. We obviously know that this offense and this lineup has potential to be one of the best lineups in baseball, especially when Jackson Holliday and Jordan Westbrook comes back. But right now, they are kind of struggling, and they're not really struggling from the bottom of the order guys. It's really the top of the lineup that has been kind of struggling to not necessarily get on base, but just get the big hit when it matters most. Going through this offense, we'll just start off with them. Taylor Ward in this game went 1 for 4. He's sitting at a 133 average to start the year, so not a great start from your leadoff hitter. Obviously, we traded for Taylor Ward. We traded Grayson Rodriguez for Taylor Ward. We wanted him to be the leadoff guy, and he has not really been playing well at leadoff. He actually has the second lowest average of any Oriole right now, and from your leadoff hitter, that is really what you don't want. So Taylor Ward, I wouldn't be surprised if we moved him down the lineup a little bit tomorrow. I could definitely see us potentially doing Gunnar leadoff, and then maybe Gunnar, then Adley, then Pete, then Taylor. I don't really know what we're gonna end up doing there. But Taylor Ward, I just don't know if he should be the leadoff guy. I think that experiment might be ending soon because it's just not really working out, and having a good leadoff hitter and someone you can rely on is so important it sets the tone for the rest of the lineup. And Taylor Ward really hasn't done that this year. I'm sure he's going to snap out of this little slump to start the season, and he's going to be fine. I'm sure of it. We've seen him throughout his career be a good contact hitter and also a really good home run hitter as well. Last year was the best season of his career, but we'll see what ends up happening with Taylor Ward. Right now, it's not looking too great for him. His fielding out in left has not been great either, and the Orioles' defense in general is just another topic of conversation. Gunnar Henderson at short has kind of had some balls get past him. Taylor Ward out in left hasn't looked too great. Tyler O'Neill's defense when he's been out there in right hasn't looked great. The best defender so far for the Orioles is probably like Adley Rutschman's framing and Kobe Mayo at third. Like those guys have been playing well. Pete Alonso at first as well. But the defense has not looked great for the Orioles. The hitting really hasn't looked great. And the starting pitching has not really looked great so far this year in the first 4 games. But Gunnar Henderson was batting second today. He by far had his best game of the season. He played great. He went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs, including a solo home run in the first inning. That is the second Orioles home run this season. The first was Tyler O'Neill yesterday. But Gunnar Henderson, 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a solo home run. Good game by Gunnar. He was the only person that scored and drove in any sort of runs for the Orioles. He had a solo home run in the first inning, and then he had an RBI single in the 5th inning. So those were the only 2 runs the Orioles scored, and it came off of the bat of Gunnar. So you love to see that from him. You love to see him getting that 2-hit day, coming off of getting his first hit yesterday. So hopefully Gunnar can get back into that groove and be the player that we all know that he can be. Going over to Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso did not really have a great game today. He did get a single in the 8th inning. It was a RBI, not an RBI single, but he did just get like a single in the 8th inning. That was his only hit of the day. He went 1 for 4 with 2 strikeouts, sitting at a 267 average to start the year. And a little fun fact about Pete Alonso, and just throughout his Mets career as well, is that Pete Alonso has never gone more than 4 games before getting his first home run of the season, and we have officially passed that mark. So Pete Alonso, this is now officially the longest stretch of his career to start a season where he hasn't gotten his first home run. So for the Mets, it took him sometimes 1 game, took him sometimes 2 games, and then it took him sometimes 4 games to get his first home run of the year. We are officially going into the 5th game of the season tomorrow, so this is now the 5th game, or this is now officially, I guess, the longest Pete Alonso has gone without hitting his first home run. So not great from Pete. Yesterday we saw him have a really good day. He went 2 for 3 yesterday, had 3 plate appearances yesterday. So yesterday he did his thing. Today he got a really good base hit in the 8th inning, but he had a chance to really make a big impact with a big swing in I'm pretty sure it was the 5th inning and the 3rd inning. He had a chance to really make a difference in this game, and he struck out on both of those at-bats. So he had a chance to really have a big Oriole moment. He actually had a chance to give the Orioles the lead in the 5th inning, but he struck out on a pitch that was high. You could tell that he was frustrated with himself because, again, he knows the role that he needs to play on this team. Like, he knows that he is going to be that core home run hitter, someone who needs to come up in those scenarios and be clutch in those situations. And we've seen him be home run, and we've seen him be clutch throughout his career. And this is just one of those scenarios where it was just not a great look for Pete in this game. The 2 strikeouts were rough. It was just the situation of where the 2 strikeouts was. But Pete Alonso, 1 for 4, not the worst game in the world, but did strike out twice on some 2 clutch scenarios. Adley Rutschman in this game, he continues to be probably the Orioles' best hitter this season, a 364 average. He has a couple doubles on the season. He went 1 for 4 in this game with a strikeout, so not anything too crazy. But again, when you only score 2 runs, you're not going to have any crazy outings. Because, again, like Gunnar was the only one that had 2 hits in this game. Everyone else either had 1 hit or 0 hits. Adley Rutschman 1 for 4. Tyler O'Neill, after his 3-run homer yesterday, he goes 0 for 4 today. And there was multiple guys in this game. Like Tyler O'Neill had some was in some big scenarios to get some big hits. Pete Alonso obviously was in some big scenarios. Colton Cowser, and just some of these guys just couldn't come through in the moment. Gunnar Henderson, again, was the only one that drove in runs for the Orioles today. But Tyler O'Neill 0 for 4, not great from him. Dylan Beavers is really struggling to start the year so far. He's sitting at a 111 average. I'm pretty sure this is the lowest average by any Orioles hitter so far this year. So Dylan Beavers is really struggling. And if you guys follow my Birds of a Feather Twitter account, which you can follow, clicking the link in the bio. But Dylan Beavers was someone who I was kind of like riding or dying with. Like I was saying, like Dylan Beavers is going to prove himself, and he's going to be the starting right fielder by All-Star break. I thought that Tyler O'Neill was going to be used as like a rotational off-the-bench DH or just like power hitter, kind of like how Ryan Mountcastle is getting used right now. But Dylan Beavers, I had a lot of confidence in him going into the season, and again, I just want to preference, we're only 4 games into this season. I'm not saying that Dylan Beavers is just going to be horrible this year, but he is off to a pretty bad start this year. Did have a big RBI double yesterday, but just not the start that you would love to see from Dylan. Didn't play great today either. Jeremiah Jackson came in as a pinch hitter. He in the 9th inning. The game was already over by the 9th inning. We had the back of our lineup up, and it just kind of felt like the air was kind of taken out. But Jeremiah Jackson, he struck out in his only at bat. Kobe Mayo went 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts on this game. Not great by Kobe's bat so far this year, but he has played some really good third base defense, so that's maybe countering it a little bit. Colton Cowser has had a pretty good start to the year hitting the baseball. He had a below 200 average last year, and he really struggled last year. He had a lot of strikeouts, really struggled to get going last season after that fractured thumb. But this year, he's looking a lot better. His at-bats are also looking a hell of a lot better. He seems to be hitting the ball harder. Colton Cowser in this game was 1 for 2 with a run scored and a walk. So Colton Cowser was the only other Oriole that actually had 2 plate appearances besides Gunnar. So Colton Cowser, he's starting the year with a .333 batting average, so you like to see that from Colton. I could definitely see Colton moving up in the lineup a little bit. We might keep him down there in like the 7, 8, 9 area, but I can definitely see him maybe moving up if he continues to be playing as well as he is. Ryan Mountcastle came in as a pinch hitter. He struck out in his only at-bat. And then Blaze Alexander, who actually has the highest average of any Orioles hitter. Again, he's one of those rotational third basemen as like the Gunnar Henderson, or not Gunnar, as the Jackson Holiday replacement as we wait for him to return. Blaze Alexander, 1 for 3. He has a .429 average to start the year, so he's playing really well. He's doing his thing. Shout out to Blaze. He just kind of seems like a gritty player, great defender, runs really well as well. He's very fast, and he's been hitting the baseball pretty well to start the season. So the big argument is like, not argument, but kind of like we're going based off of matchups and lefty-righty matchups or whatever. Jeremiah Jackson and Blaze Alexander are like the 2 guys who were kind of rotating at second base to see who's going to be there's not really like a full-time guy until Jackson Holiday comes back, because once Jackson comes back, he's going to take that second base role every day. But right now it's kind of a rotation between Jeremiah Jackson and Blaze Alexander, who just so happen to be like the 2 best contact hitters this year. So I think that's a little funny how the 2 rotational guys are actually like outperforming a lot of the star guys in terms of like hitting. So shout out to Blaze. He did his thing today, but again, only 7 total hits in this game. The Orioles struck out 11 times, went 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position, left 6 guys on base. So not a great start to the offense this season. So they're kind of struggling this year on offense. Hopefully they can get it going very, very soon. Because, again, if the Orioles want to win this series against the Rangers, they're going to have to win the next 2 games. So they're going to have to really clutch up. We got Zach Eflin on the mound tomorrow. And then we got Trevor Rogers, the ace, on the mound on Wednesday. So hopefully they can clutch up and do their thing. The Rangers are going to have Jacob deGrom on the mound, just like probably either tomorrow or Wednesday. So last time deGrom played the Orioles last year, he almost threw a no-hitter, so hopefully they can lock back in and do a lot better this year. But going over to the Orioles pitching in this game, again, Chris Bassitt really did struggle in his Orioles debut. Only 4.1 innings, gave up 6 hits, 4 walks, so 10 total base runners, gave up 4 earned runs, and had 3 strikeouts, and threw 100 pitches in just 4.1 innings. So I credit Chris Bassitt for, throwing a scoreless 3rd and 4th inning and getting that one out in the 5th inning. but he really did struggle early. In that first and second inning, it was hell. I mean, he gave up 10 total base runners in the 4.2 innings, gave up 4 runs. One of the runs he gave up was like he was trying to throw to Adley at home to try and get the out, and he spiked the ball, and it was just a really ugly situation for Chris Bassitt. So a lot of people online, a lot of people on Twitter were kind of saying like this is very familiar to the Charlie Morton scenario last year where he was just awful, and it's kind of a similar like thing because again, Charlie Morton was a super old pitcher. He was like 38 last year. No, he was 41 last year. Sorry. Chris Bassitt is 37 this year. He still is an older pitcher, but I think there was a lot more general consensus that Chris Bassitt was going to be more reliable than what Charlie Morton was last year, and I still do believe that. Again, the outing he had today was really ugly when you watched it, but when you look at the box score, it's not. It could be a lot worse. Like four runs in 4 innings isn't like the worst thing in the entire world. It's not like game ending. He was able to fight through it, and he still was able to throw 100 pitches, and he was able to get through 4 innings after that really bad first 2 innings. So shout out to him for that. Hopefully, he can have a big bounce back game in his next start. Dietrich Enns, and I want to shout out this bullpen really quickly, besides Tyler Wells, but Dietrich Enns and Rico Garcia were great. Dietrich Enns, 1.2 innings, no runs. He did his thing, had 4 strikeouts in 1.2 innings. And then Rico Garcia, who was looking like a star out of this bullpen, much like he did last year as well for the Orioles. Rico Garcia, 2 innings, no hits, no runs, no walks, and had 3 strikeouts. And he has a 0 ERA through, I think, through like 3 innings so far this year. Hasn't given up a single run. So shout out to Rico Garcia. He has looked great this year. Him, Nunez, and probably Dietrich Enns are like the 3 guys in the bullpen who have kind of impressed me the most so far. So, and obviously Ryan Helsley, but he wasn't in this game, obviously, because there was no save scenario for the Orioles. So Dietrich Enns played great. Rico Garcia played great. They really did keep the Orioles afloat, and they kept the Rangers in check. And Enns and Garcia gave the Orioles a chance to come back in this game and allowed the bats to come back in this game, and they just couldn't do it. So that's why I definitely say that this game is more on the bats here. Then Tyler Wells came out in the top of the 9th inning, gave up 1 run. Not a great start for Tyler Wells. He's had a 10.13 ERA through his first. I think he's appeared in 3 of the 4 games so far, and he's given up 1 run in all of them. So Tyler Wells, not a great start to the season for him. Gave up 3 hits and 1 run in this game. But overall, again, the pitching from Enns and Garcia was great. Bassitt struggled, Wells struggled, but this game was really on the Orioles' bats. They had a chance in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th inning to really get back in this, and through all of those like 5 to 6 innings, they just couldn't really do anything with their bats. Couldn't bring guys home. They've kind of struggled to score runs this year. They scored more runs yesterday than all 3 of the other games this year combined, so that is a problem. Hopefully in these next 2 games in this series against the Rangers, they can really get the bats going and prove again why this lineup has so much potential. We need to see it for ourselves here. It's still early, but it is a little bit worrisome to start the year. And thank you guys so much for tuning into and listening to this episode of Birds of a Feather. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe on YouTube, follow up on Spotify. Again, we're going over every single Orioles game this year. We're doing a post-game recap of every single Orioles game this year, and also covering any sort of breaking news that goes on with the Orioles and also the Ravens as they're currently in their offseason. I will be doing my first mock draft, I think, this Wednesday or Thursday, so look out for that. That's going to be really, really fun. It's going to be a separate video from the Orioles one. It's going to be earlier in the day. But again, I appreciate all the support. Make sure to click the link in the bio to check out the Twitter and the Instagram. I post all the time on Twitter. I live tweet all the time on Twitter, so make sure to go check that out. Make sure to come interact with me. It's a lot of fun over there on Orioles Twitter. Appreciate all of you guys so much. I'll see you guys tomorrow. You have a great Steelers day. Go O's, go Ravens, and I'll see you later. Peace out.